Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire saw the release of 20 new Mega Evolutions, taking the current amount to a total of 48. 48 Mega Evolutions in a universe that contains over 700 creatures. There's a lot of potential for what we could see, and a lot of people were disappointed about a lot of exclusions. A lot of Pokemon that didn't see Mega Evolutions in the most recent Pokemon games. Today I'm going to be taking a look at the top 5 Pokemon I want to see receive Mega Evolutions in Pokemon Z or Pokemon X2 and Y2 or whatever the next Pokemon games are going to be. And in the comments below, I'm really interested in what Pokemon you guys want to see receive Mega Evolutions in the next Pokemon games. 500 likes would be really appreciated for my next Pokemon related video to be uploaded almost immediately. My thoughts on whether there'll be Pokemon Diamond and Pearl remakes, and without any further ado, let's get this show on the road. Coming in at number 5 isn't just one Pokemon, it's actually a whole group of Pokemon. In particular, the 3 starter Pokemon of the Johto region, MEGANIUM, TYPHLOSION, and Feraligatr. These 3 Pokemon just hold a special place in my heart. I really like these Pokemon. TYPHLOSION is my favorite Pokemon in particular, and I just really want to see these Pokemon receive Mega Evolutions. And I think if Generation 1 starter Pokemon and Generation 3 starter Pokemon are worthy of Mega Evolutions, surely the starter Pokemon that bridged the gap between them 2 generations deserve Mega Evolutions as well. I'd really love to see what Game Freak would do with their designs. I think there's quite a lot of potential to make these 3 Pokemon just look particularly badass. I think Game Freak did a fantastic job with the designs of the starter Pokemon that have already received Mega Evolutions, and seeing Game Freak's take on a Mega Evolution for TYPHLOSION would just be awesome in my personal opinion. Feraligatr as well, also one of my favorite Pokemon. I think Game Freak could really go to town and just make that thing look overly awesome as well. And MEGANIUM could really do with a buff, and I think these 3 Pokemon are worthy of Mega Evolutions. Sure, chuck in every other starter Pokemon as well. I think they're just as worthy of Mega Evolutions too. But if I was to pinpoint a number 5 slot on my list, I think I would give it to the 3 starter Pokemon of the Johto region, just to bridge the gap between the Mega Evolutions of the starter Pokemon for Generation 1 and Generation 3, if that makes sense. Perhaps not the most realistic choice on this list, but it's just something I myself would really like to see. Number 4 is a Pokemon that I'm picking purely because every other Pokemon that's in its little subcategory has already received a Mega Evolution. Well, up to Generation 4. And I think it just deserves it at this point, especially because it's a Pokemon I like anyway. Number 4 is Dragonite. As I said, the pseudo legendary Pokemon from Generation 2, 3, and 4 have already received a Mega Evolution. Tyranitar, Metagross, Salamence, and Garchomp. And in my personal opinion, I just really like to see a Mega Dragonite. Now, a Mega Dragonite could perhaps be a touch overpowered. Dragonite possesses the ability Multiscale, which is just a fantastic ability and makes it very, very viable. And on top of that, it's fantastic base stat spread, it's very bulky, it possesses fantastic physical attack, heck, it even possesses fantastic special attack. It's just capable of doing anything, and a Mega Evolution buff would really make it overpowered if they went about it the wrong way. But if they changed up its ability, made it so you had to be strategic with your Multiscale and Mega Evolution usage, maybe make its ability something that makes normal type attacks, Dragon type or something like that, to stop Mega Dragonite going over the realm of overpowered, I think Game Freak could really make a Mega Evolution for Dragonite work. Its stat placement doesn't matter too much. I guess that's up to you guys to speculate on, and for Game Freak to actually distribute them evenly. But Dragonite is just a Pokemon I think deserves a Mega Evolution, especially because every other pseudo legendary Pokemon, aside from Generation 5 and Generation 6, have already received one. Plus, Dragonite is a fan favorite anyway from Generation 1, so that's just my 2 cents, and that's just my number 4 slot. Number 3 on my list is Kingdra. Now, I feel bad because the majority of this list, in fact the entirety of this list, doesn't feature any Generation 5 and Generation 6 Pokemon, and they're the generations that probably deserve more generations with Mega Evolutions. But Kingdra is another one of those Pokemon, like Dragonite, where I just feel like it deserves a Mega Evolution. Kingdra, like FLYGON, a Pokemon that I may or may not get into in just a second, is a Pokemon that has limitless potential. It's a really good Pokemon. It's got a pretty decent base stat spread, at least it has a high base stat count, I guess. and it's just very underutilized. There's a few decent strategies to get the best out of it, but it's just overall a Pokemon that could do a whole lot better if it received a Mega Evolution buff. Its design would be awesome if it got a Mega Evolution, I have no doubt about that. I think Game Freak would do a fantastic job with that, and I think they'd do a fantastic job with giving it the base stat spread it deserves. Maybe increase either one of its attack stats, either its physical attack or special attack, and just make it a little bit speedier. And just overall, buffs like that would make it actually viable in, well, higher tiers if you're going by Smogon's rules. Kingdra as it stands is a really fun Pokemon to use, especially if you take advantage of its sniper ability. But it's a Pokemon that needs just a little bit more to actually make it a Pokemon that's worth fearing. Much like my number 2 slot, which I'm going to get into right now. Number 2 is a Pokemon you guys probably all expected to see on this list. That is a Pokemon you guys are probably sick of hearing about from people who are mad that it didn't receive a Mega Evolution in Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. It's been heavily documented that this Pokemon hasn't received one, and you can probably guess, it's Flygon. Flygon is a Pokemon that was possessed by Orun, the secret base master, quote unquote. And one would think it would receive a Mega Evolution, especially because Orun actually gives you a Mega Stone for a ground dragon Pokemon. But no, he just complains about how his Flygon can't Mega Evolve, and instead after you battle him and defeat him, he gives you a Garchomp pipe, which is ridiculous. This was the one perfect opportunity for Game Freak to give Flygon, a Pokemon that is a tad underpowered and could really do with a Mega Evolution to really reach its maximum potential, a Mega Evolution, and they laughed in the face of their customers. Okay, maybe I'm taking that a bit personally, but damn it, Flygon deserves a Mega Evolution. It's already such a cool looking Pokemon, so the enhancements that a newly designed Mega Evolution could give it are just out of this world. They could buff its stats to bring it on par with the current competitive metagame, make it actually viable like it deserves, and it would make customers worship the ground that Game Freak walks on for actually giving us what we want. I don't know, I wanted to keep this low on my top 5 list. I just know that you guys probably don't want to hear me rant about it for too long. My number 1 choice is a Pokemon you guys might have been able to guess, Milotic. Milotic is a Pokemon that just seemed like a dead cert to receive a Mega Evolution in Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, at least to me. Milotic evolves by maxing out its beauty stats. The beauty stat is of course related to Pokemon contests, and Pokemon contests are just synonymous with the Hoenn region and what the Hoenn region is about. And I thought of all the Pokemon that Licia, the Pokemon contest coordinator that gets you into Pokemon contests in ORAS, of all the Pokemon that she could have had, instead of an Altaria, I thought she would have had a Milotic, as Milotic just to me represents Pokemon contests a lot more to me. I honestly thought it was very strange that Licia had a Mega Altaria rather than a Mega Milotic, and to me Milotic is the Pokemon that's most worthy of receiving a Mega Evolution, if not via DLC, at least in a future Pokemon game. I could talk for hours about how strange I think Licia having a Mega Altaria rather than a Milotic actually was, but to save you guys from that, I'm just going to say that I think Milotic is the Pokemon that's most worthy of a Mega Evolution, and I hope you guys understand my reasoning for that. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video and at least somewhat agree with my decisions in my top 5. I'm really interested in you guys' top 5, so leave me a comment telling me what Pokemon you think deserve Mega Evolutions in future Pokemon games. 500 likes would be really appreciated for a video on my thoughts on whether there'll be Pokemon Diamond and Pearl remakes in the future over the next couple of days, and feel free to subscribe so you don't miss any more of my future Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire videos. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.